All right. I'm at slavevoyages.org. All right. Listen. Yes, you were saying I'm lost. Let me give you my example before I go to the scholastic sources that you depend on. If we took 8,000 African Americans and went to China and stayed there permanently and blended into the civilization, and we admixed with the Chinese, 1 billion Chinese, 8,000 African Americans, in 12 generations, what would the children be politically and lineally? They would be Chinese. You're not going to go to another place where there are millions and billions of people, and your little 8,000 that's not even 0.0000001% of the population, and change that population. Of course, you're going to insert some genes over a long periods of time, but they're going to bleed out, and you're not going to be able to politically or to change the identity of that ethnic group by going there. You can't do that, but that makes no sense. Now, watch what I'm about to show you. These people are trying to use to say that they're African. It is ridiculous. This is slavevoyages.org, the site that is used to compile the interaction over the transatlantic operations for the trade in articles, food, captives, and non-captives who came voluntarily. I have to stress that there were Africans who went into the Caribbean voluntarily, left their home for good, for work. Lots of them. So let's go. We're going to go here. We're going to go transatlantic, understanding the database. Then we're going to go here to data variables. Now, I've shown this so many times, but I'm going to read everything it says here so that you will not call me a liar. So you can visibly see that I am going straight to the slavevoyages.org website, going to data variables to explain how many voyages it was, how many Africans embarked, how many Africans disembarked, how many names were kept, the genders, all of that. So now let's go. Now, this is the point that I always make, but I'm going to expound upon it like I have never expounded upon it. 8,285. Now, you can see this has updated. The first set was given in 2008, second set 2010, third set 2018. This is the number of slave voyages in the data set. In 2008, they had 34,940 voyages. 2010, they found more, 34,948. 2018, 36,002. This is an amount of voyages now. And what were they carrying? You got to go and see what they were carrying: articles, goods, all kinds of stuff. Some ships had absolutely no people except the goods on them and a small crew. So let's read exactly what they are saying. Listen, the variables include information that, for convenience, have been grouped into 8 categories. 1, year range. 2, vessel characteristics: name, tonnage, rig, guns, place, and year of construction, owners. 3, the itinerary of the voyage. Where are we going? 4, the numbers, age, sex, and mortality of enslaved people. 5, dates at which the vessel left and arrived. 6, the captain and crew of the vessel. 7, the outcome of the voyage. 8, the sources for the record. The variable list in the Understanding the Database section presents a complete listing of the data variables as well as the imputed variables. What is an imputation? Go look that word up. We'll come back to it. In the data set, labels for imputed variables are always followed by the abbreviation IMP. No voyage, however, includes information for all data or imputed variables, which means there's no ship ever recorded that had all 8 and it was all together and recorded. They're telling you this on the site. Table 1 provides a summary of the coverage for some of the more important data variables. So we went there. Number of slave voyages in the data set as of 2018 is 36,000 voyages in 2. Voyages with the name of the vessel. Voyages with the name of the vessel 34,367. So there's almost 2,000 ships they don't even know the name of. Voyages with the names of the captain, 31,942 as of 2018. Voyages with the name of at least one ship owner. The owners of the ship drops all the way down to 21,386. So they have over 15,000 ships. They don't even know who the owner is. Tonnage of ship available, 17,663. Place of ship departure given, 28,901. So the place where they left from, out of all 36,000, there is almost 9,000 where they don't even know where it came from. It's just a ship. But they have 28,000 of the ships. Date of ship departure given, 22,713. Places of embarkation on the African coast available. Pay attention to this. They have 21,750 listed sources of the place they left from in Africa. Number of Africans embarked reported. So out of those 21,754 ships that they have recorded coming off the African coast, only 8,285 Africans embarked the ships. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? According to the history, this has nothing to do with slavery. Our identity and our historical polities are the issue. 8,285 Africans embarked. Voyages with the age or gender of Africans reported, only 4,765. They only have the age and gender of 4,700 Africans reported. Places of disembarkation available, meaning where they landed and let people off, 25,000 out of the 36,000. Dates of arrival at place of disembarkation, where people are getting off, available, 18,000. Number of Africans disembarked. Wait a minute. They got more Africans that got off the ships than got on the ships. Whoa. Whoa. Explain it to me. I'm going to tell you why they have more. Because when they went to other places and landed, as far as the routes that they stopped once or twice or 3 times, they picked up other people and took them somewhere else. Now they're labeling people in the Caribbean as Africans. How did they even know they were Africans? Because they told them that they was Africans. And we need to go over here because we heard this job's over here. They got on voluntarily. Voyages reporting numbers of Africans died on board. Out of the 36,000 ships, the number of ships where there were Africans reported as dying on board were only 6,459. Where are y'all getting 10 million, 2 million, 12 million? Where are y'all getting these numbers from? I know where you get the numbers from, but you don't understand it. Voyages with place of ship construction reported, where we know where the ship was constructed. 9 out of, it's almost 30,000 ships we don't know where they were constructed at. Date of return to Europe or end of voyage. Only 10,000 ships reported returning to Europe. Some indication of outcome of the voyage, 32,321. Generally, we attempted to preserve the written documentary record in adding to the data variables. Numeric variables such as vessel tonnage, numbers of crew, and numbers of slaves, demanding a ranking of sources, particularly for the well-documented British trade. Sources often report different numbers of slaves embarked on or taken on board the coast of Africa or landed in the Americas. Furthermore, for some years, there are inconsistencies in slave age or gender totals per voyage. Regarding slave exports, we were careful to distinguish between the number of slaves purchased and the number who in fact were shipped from the coast. We use slave departure totals, whether reported by slave traders, African merchants, for those of you saying the Africans didn't sell nobody, they were African merchants, or European captains, agents, or merchants. We included the slave departures reported in sources such as logs kept by the Dutch and the English castles on the Gold Coast, even though the totals often were rounded numbers, such as 400 or 500 slaves, and even though the totals occasionally were significantly less than the numbers of slaves who were disembarked in the Americas. Users should keep these biases in mind, not least for any calculations of mortality they may wish to try. For slave arrivals recorded in customs documents or shipping gazettes, we decided to use maximum totals. So they're like, we're going to use the maximum totals. We still only got 8,000. Where there was conflicting information under the assumption that these differences might indicate deaths of slaves before slaves. Do not argue with me. Argue with them. Argue with your sources.